Good evening, everyone. The meeting will come to order. So, Madam Clerk, could you please read the adequate notice of compliance statement?
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the City Clerk's Office in preparation of the council meeting notice dated May 27, 2021, which was properly distributed and posted per statutory requirements. Please be advised the fire exits are to my right, your left, and at the back of the room. The city has a listening system to assist the hearing impaired. If anyone needs hearing assistance, please obtain the system at the dais and return it thereafter.
Thank you. Could we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Allen? Here. Ms. Hairston?
Here.
Ms. Little? Here. Mr. Naidu?
Here.
Mr. O'Sullivan?
Here.
Mr. Vartan?
Present.
President Fox?
Here. Okay, moving on. If everyone could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, could you please read the notices regarding closed session and hearings and comments, please?
A closed session meeting is authorized by state statute, was announced and held prior to the start of this meeting, and the known items for discussion were listed on the published closed session agenda. Please be advised that council meetings are broadcast live on Comcast Channel 36 and Verizon Channel 30, and rebroadcast on Thursdays and Saturdays on HTTV, Comcast 36, and Verizon 33. When invited to speak, please come to the lectern, clearly state your name and address, and spell your last name. Speak into the podium microphone so that your comments can be understood by all and properly recorded. Whenever an audience or council member reads from a prepared statement, please give or email a copy to the City Clerk's office at rlicatis@cityofsummit.org. To help facilitate an orderly meeting and to permit all to be heard, speakers are asked to limit their comments to about approximately 3 minutes or so in length. Unless you are using an electronic device to follow the meeting agenda or need it for emergency contact purposes, please turn it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Now moving on to approval of minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the regular and closed session meeting minutes of October 19th?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And now we're moving on to reports. Madam Mayor?
Thank you, Council President. Good evening, everyone. As you know, many of you know, we had the groundbreaking for the new fire headquarters last Friday. The fire headquarters construction has begun. The parking lot adjacent to the Broad Street garage is now closed and will be fenced off within the next week. Once the fence is established, the sidewalk on the same side as the construction site will be closed in both directions for the duration of the project, which will be approximately 18 months. Signs will be posted, and pedestrians are asked to follow detour information. The Summit Volunteer First Aid Squad is continuing its annual fund drive. If you have not donated yet, please go to summitems.org. For those who do not know, the squad is staffed by unpaid volunteers who provide life-saving services to the Summit community for free. They rely on your support to purchase equipment and for training, and I hope you will consider donating. Thank you. If you want a fulfilling job with part-time hours, the Summit Police Department is hiring school crossing guards for 2 shifts each day from 7:45 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and from 3 p.m. to 3:45 p.m. Monday through Friday when school is in session. Crossing guards can earn up to $50 a day with a bonus for perfect attendance. Uniforms and training are provided. Applicants must be aged 18 or older and have their own transportation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And the city administrator has informed me that he does not have a report, so I'll just give the council president's report. Just quickly, as you know, yesterday was the election here in Summit. Now that that is over, we can all come together to do the work of governing here in Summit, and I hope we can all work together on that. If you are interested in getting more involved in the community, the Summit Free Public Library Volunteer Fair will take place this Sunday, November 7th from 1:30 to 3:30 p.m. Representatives from local nonprofit and civic organizations will be available to share information on opportunities and to answer questions. For more information, go to summitlibrary.org. Every Wednesday from 9:30 to 1:30, Sage Elder Care is providing free COVID-19 testing to the public. Testing will take place at the Sage Elder Care parking lot at 290 Broad Street in Summit. Results are available within 24 hours. For more information, please call Sage at 908-273-5550. The next Summit Free Market will take place on Saturday, November 13th, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the transfer station. If you would like to volunteer, please email pressoffice@cityofsummit.org. And finally, now that Halloween is over, you can compost your pumpkins at the municipal transfer station. And you can look for the pumpkin sign near where you would drop off your leaves. And that's it for reports. And we now have a presentation from Mike Coyle, the Regional Public Affairs Manager at PSE&G. Thank you for coming in.
My pleasure. Can I take my mask off? Is that okay?
Yes, you can.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council folks. Thanks for giving us the opportunity to come tonight. We just wanted to briefly talk about our a gas main upgrade project that we have planned for the city. It's approximately 11 miles. I have with me two folks, Sam Campanella, who's our manager of construction, and Marlene Perfito, who will handle our outreach to the residents, and notifications. This is part of our what we call our gas system modernization program. It's a program we brought to the Board of Public Utilities, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago. They approved the first phase, which we did throughout our territory, and then last year they approved the second phase. Essentially, we're going to be upgrading the system, replacing leaky, older mains, a lot of cast iron mains that have been out there for close to 100 years. We've got some bare steel mains out there that have leaks. And we'll replace all of that, and a lot of these areas don't have any pressure in the mains. It's what we call utilization pressure. It's very low, so the capacity and the ability to install some of the newer type of technologies and equipment out there, it makes it a lot more difficult. So what we're going to do is we're going to upgrade the system. We're going to replace some of that older main with newer plastic main. We're going to bring in some pressure to the system, so it'll give us more capacity, more reliability, more resiliency. At this point, I'll turn it over to Sam. We have a large map here on the street list to talk about the areas that we're going to be working in, but I'll turn it over to Sam to talk about how we're going to do it and schedule-wise and what our construction process will be.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sam Campanella, as Mike had stated. I'm the construction manager for PSE&G Gas for this territory. As Mike had stated, we're looking to come in the near future to upgrade approximately 11 miles of UP, which is low-pressure cast iron gas main, with a new durable pressure polyethylene plastic facility. And in doing so, we would be upgrading every service that's not already plastic, that's connected to the infrastructure that we're upgrading at this time. So we would be renewing customer services. They would all have adequate pressure, as Mike stated, for any high-efficiency appliances. And in doing that, we'd be doing some additional safety measures where we install, it's an excess flow valve is what it's called. It's a little coupling near our main that is there in case somebody was to, another excavator or anybody was to damage our gas service going into the customer's property. This would sense the pressure differential and would shut down, eliminating gas from seeping into the customer's premise. And if needed, we would be replacing the customer's meters and moving meters outside, which also helps us to, in the need of a leak down the future or a fire, it's an immediate access where we can us or the fire department can shut down the customer's gas from outside the house without having to go inside or needing a crew to come dig up a service that doesn't have a valve on it. So we would be installing a valve or moving the meter outside. The area, so I brought a map. I'm not really sure what the best way to show this is. But so these maps it has our gas facilities on it, and we don't really hand it out to the public because just for confidentiality reasons. But what I can do is kind of explain through what it is in high level. So this is actually the area that we would be upgrading is right around here. So we'd be picking up on Springfield Ave over here and going down to Edgewood Road. And we would be taking that
So
up.
going east.
Yeah, going east, right? This one? Am I backwards?
That one.
Going that way, yeah, going east. And we would be going out to 24 and up just north of Hillcrest on the northern end, and out on the western boundary, out by Kent Place Boulevard, just west of Woodland. So this map, when we would come in to do construction, we would be dividing it up into 5 different quadrants. So 3 of them are our main quadrants. We would have put, so we'd be doing this all with our internal construction crews. The first quadrant, we would be working with one crew that would be starting in the Springfield area past the downtown, working north all east of what is that, Summit Ave, the main street that goes up that way, so we would be all east of Summit. We would be staying out in the main area for now, working with one crew that would take approximately 6 to 7 months. Why we did that, we would have a second crew on the opposite side, which would be on the other side of Woodland, starting on the north side, working south, which also would be 6 to 7 months. So in total, would be between 3 to 5 crews, lasting from 7 months to almost a year, based on how we cut it out. And the time frame would extend that way with those amount of crews, because we haven't actually worked out specific allotments for 2 of our areas where we would work, one being down here. We would work that out with the city. That's about 4 months worth of work in this immediate vicinity, which we're flexible to move around in that time, whether it would be better to do in the winter or wait and hold off until March. But it would be broken out into those 5 quadrants. So the middle one would be between Summit and Woodland, and we would start north of this downtown area and move north. Right? Yeah, so it would be like, if you take those Summit and Woodland, we would be working south on the one side, north on the other, with a third in the middle, and all 3 of those crews would take 6 to 7 months. And then the downtown area is 4 months, which we haven't really scheduled yet, and a last 5th crew that we would use on the main roads, which is approximately 7 to 8 months as well from whenever we would start that. So best case scenario, we would get everything done if we started it all together in like 7 months. Worst case scenario could be approximately a year. And we would be looking to start ASAP with 2 to 3 crews up front. We would be scheduling through the local PD for traffic setup. We have a designated supervisor on site with these crews that work every day or all day, and his only responsibility is to oversee this project, so we would have a direct contact for customers and the city. We have a robust communication plan that I'll let Marlene speak through, but she is dedicated as well to this project and has a hotline that she monitors 24 hours a day. So if a customer calls, she would get a text message to her phone and know, so that we'd be able to set up and respond to customers to ultimately prevent them from calling the town and everybody here with our problems.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, but hopefully we'll do our best to mitigate them. But yeah, so that would be the construction. It's a lot of smaller diameter pipe, so you wouldn't see a trench down most roadways. What we would be doing here is inserting a smaller diameter pressure main through the existing. So you would see like scattered excavations. So in front of each house, there'd be a 4x2 patch that would have to be dug for us to replace the service and put it on the new main. Then we would dig a hole up by the customer's property. And then we would dig like on a random block, like a scattered block. We may have to dig a couple, 2 to 3 extra, we call them push holes, which is where we insert the existing main, the new main through the existing main, and actually retrieve it on the other end and then do so in the next hole. So it would be patch work, what you see, not significant trenching. We would schedule all of our appointments through customers. We wouldn't just come to a customer and shut them off if they weren't accommodating. We never do that. We would work with the personnel, with the residents on the street to effectively schedule which ones were ready, replace them, and then do our job in conjunction with residents. And then at the end, we'd come behind our crews, we bring a lawn restoration contractor that helps us with any lawn or bushes, shrubs, anything that we can't do with our people. They come right behind our personnel. And at the end, in groupings, we come through with a paving contractor and would restore from the curb out to the next seam of where our construction ends. We would be on the same side of the road in all of these cases. So most cases, it's a half of a roadway, or on a wide road, it might be a third of a roadway. And in some cases, there'll be minimal excavations on the street, and we would work with the city where we don't need to actually mill and pave. There may be only 1 or 2 holes. We would be able to take what we don't do there and move it to do maybe a little bit more somewhere else. So we would coordinate with the city for final restoration before we completed our job and walked out of the project. Kind of went through that quick. Not sure if anybody has any questions.
Oh, I'm sure we do.
Do you want to finish the whole presentation and then we'll do questions?
We can talk about the
Yeah.
communication piece of it, sure.
Yes,
Good
okay, great,
evening.
thanks.
So I'm Marlene, I'm a public affairs specialist for PSE&G, and this is my territory. So initially, the residents all get a letter, a mailing, which kind of gives them like the detail of the project. And then I also have door hanging. I have someone walk the area if there's any businesses that are impacted. They speak to the business owner and give them the outline of the project. And then I also do a electronic notification. So any customer or resident that has their email associated to their account also receive a notification. So there'll be at least or a minimum of 3 points of contact there. And then there is ongoing notifications as we approach closer to a particular street. I send out an additional ongoing notification as we get closer to the area. And I brought like an example of exactly the letter that goes out, and we have like an FAQ sheet, and then exactly what the door hanger looks like, which looks like this. And on this letter is my direct hotline number. It's at the bottom that they can customers can call. When they do, they are returned within a 24-hour time frame. I try to do it less than that, and then I will work with the city to maybe get some of these notifications up on your website and send out all the information electronically so that it can go up. That's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, does anyone on council have any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So should we start? I'm sorry?
I do have a question.
You have a question?
We all do.
We all do. All right, David, do you want to start? Councilmember Naidoo?
Thank you.
Well, just-
Actually, I need some help because of the audio system here. So I heard, I think, that the time estimate is what, 6 to what number of months?
A
What's the
year.
range?
It was
Yeah.
7 to 12 months is what you
Yeah,
said, correct?
between 7 months to up to 12 months, depending upon whether we have 3 crews up to 5 crews.
I'm sorry, 7 to 12, and then what
Yeah.
did you say again?
The number of crews it would be, if we use 3 crews for the duration of the project, it'll be closer to 12 months. If we bring in more crews up to 5, it could be down to as little as 7 months.
So what would be the reason that you would have 3 crews instead of 5 crews in summer?
Just to not overload too many crews in the same area. Because part of it is just downtown.
So, I'm sorry, I apologize because I can't see you, the way that this audiovisual is set up, so I can't see you and barely hear you, so I apologize if you can hear me clearly and I can't hear you, but that's our system's fault, not yours. But we had, I think, PSE&G do work on a street called Penn Place Boulevard in town. And that went on and on and on. And there was periods of time when it seemed like there was no crew there, but the street was all dug up, people couldn't drive on it. I mean, they could drive on it, obviously, but it was a complete and utter mess. What guarantees does the city have that you will actually complete the project in a timely manner?
Sure. So Kent Place Boulevard was a completely different project type. So that was a 12-inch, a large diameter pipe that had to be replaced. And we were doing it at the exact same time that the water company was out there. So actually, I'm not going to talk on their work, but the water company was the utility that was actually out further into the roadway than we were. So we were closer to the road and had disturbed less of that roadway. Did mostly service replacements, and then had to, when I say line a large pipe, that's a different method of replacement for a 12-inch diameter pipe, which we, instead of replacing it and putting a new 12-inch diameter pipe, we put a lining inside that prevents leaks. And when we did that, we had to coordinate with the water company to not be in the same spots, because we had specific areas that we need to excavate in to line to the next portion. And the lining process, you have to line it, then you have to let it cure, and then you have to do the next section. It's a systematic approach, completely different type of project than this large, small diameter upgrades that we have here.
Okay. So you're saying essentially that because the nature of the project is different, you don't have to coordinate with the water company or any other utility, and therefore there's less likelihood of having a more elongated process. Is that what I'm hearing?
Mostly, yeah. So it's a different type of project, that part, yes. But us working the same time with the water company wasn't planned for us. And that segment was the only thing we were upgrading on. So we had to work with them. In this case, we have a lot of other areas to move to. So if the water company or somebody else had construction going on a roadway, we would just move to a different roadway and continue construction that way.
Okay. One last question, or maybe a couple of last, at least one point and one last question, which is, obviously, as you're probably familiar already, Springfield Avenue leads to our central downtown business district. And having a road disrupted there is potential significant impact to our local economy. And so it is not certainly a one road, and regardless of which road it is in town, all roads are important, but certainly that road is particularly important. It's also a major thoroughfare that goes through. What type of remedies does the town have if you guys delay the project?
So for Springfield Ave specifically, this segment along all the businesses, we actually don't have to fully upgrade it. It's what we call an uprate. So the facility that's there now is already a plastic main. It's just low pressure. So I don't have to actually put a new gas main in. I would just have to replace, and actually most of the services are already plastic. So I would just be digging a hole in the curb to put that excess flow valve safety device in, since we were uprating the pressure, and would have minimal excavations in the roadway. And our actual main here is on the parking lane of this side, so it wouldn't be as disruptive in the business part. We wouldn't actually trench until after Waldron, down in that area. And we would be flexible to work with PD if based on the timing of coming in here, when we did it in our project, and also if this area had to be done at night, we would work that out and do that as well.
Thank you. I don't have any other questions. My only comment is, like I said, the project before at Kent Place Boulevard did not give us a warm and fuzzy feeling. I can appreciate the fact that this may be a different project, and I also appreciate the fact that I think there should be very close coordination with our departments, and you guys telling us in a timely manner what's going on, telling the businesses and residences, certainly in a timely and early manner, as to what areas you're doing, when you're doing it, when you will finish, so that people are informed, so they're making rational decisions about how they manage their lives. People shouldn't be told at the last minute, we're opening up this street, now we're doing this. There's no reason for that in this day and age. And frankly, I think our experiences, whether it's you guys or other utilities, is that people come in, do stuff, and people find out at the last minute. And I don't think that's fair to our residences. So I hope you guys, I think, again, I can't see you guys completely, but I thought there was a person who said there's going to be available 24 hours, 7 days a week. I don't think you want us to keep on using that as a hotline every day. So it would be better to be proactive in this instance. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councilmember Naidu. Who else has comments?
Councilman.
Okay, that end, okay. Councilmember Vartan.
Sure, thank you for coming. So when could this actually reasonably start?
We're ready to start as soon as official approval is given. We typically wait like 2 weeks for notification to go out.
Who gives
So,
approval?
The city.
Oh.
Just so that, like, approval as in, make sure that we agree on terms of what construction would entail, when, and they're okay with our plan. So we would get official approval, the green light, and then we would start our notification, start 2 weeks later, which hopefully would be sometime this month.
Okay, so I guess Aaron's anticipating me asking,
Yeah.
how much warning have you had, Aaron? And do you feel like you're ready for this?
Through you, Council President, the permits came in, I can't give an exact date, the permits came in probably within the last month. We immediately noticed that it was not a just service connection to one house, so we did convene a pre-construction meeting we had with PSE&G already, where we also provided them quite a list of requirements that the city would have, including this presentation to council, since we knew the significance of the project. So after this first step, we would meet with them again to go over essentially street by street. Some streets might be in the road moratorium, so some streets might not be actually qualify for the project. We haven't gone road by road yet. The engineering division will do that, as well
What
as
does that
some
mean?
might be
Can you explain
nighttime.
What's a road moratorium?
Yeah.
So the city passed probably 6, maybe 7 years ago, any road that has been improved in terms of paving, or even the micro paving program, cannot be opened for a period of 5 years after the completion. So I believe some of those roads on the list would fall under this. We'll look at those individually, unless obviously if it's a life and safety issue, then it could be. This appears to be an upgrade program, so it may not. So those are the first. And there would also be coordination with the police department to determine which ones would be night. Obviously, downtown is going to have to be a nighttime project. I'm not sure. I think there was somewhere maybe on Summit Avenue, which might fall into that as well, even though it's a county road. So that's something we'd look at as well as identifying what the final improvement will look like, whether it's going to be curb-to-curb paving or infrared paving, or if it's minor, it might just be a patch if it is just a couple holes on a street. So those are details we'd work with. So the approval they're seeking is essentially their road opening permit that they submit for every project. Granted, this is one very large project, so that has not been approved because this was one of the first steps we required.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a couple more.
Go ahead.
Should residents expect a financial impact after the upgrade, one way or the other?
No, so this actually would help them. So if a customer was to put in a generator, which happens a lot, it needs a high pressure gas to run the generator. So like the utility by tariff charges the customer the difference of the revenue credit that it generates minus the installation cost. So like a standard house would get like a $5,000 fee that they would have to pay to have the service ran that we're going to do now for free. So there's no cost to the customer, and it just gives them a new, safer facility with higher pressure for the future.
Okay, and then I guess a couple of questions, 2 more. So what's another municipality where you've done this recently?
We did a small Chatham. We were in Chatham, and which actually came into Summit slightly, a couple streets. New Providence, we had a small project in. A lot of the other areas that I'm in are in the Jersey City, Hudson County, Essex County. So this area, it's really Chatham, New Providence.
So is this a much bigger project than normal for you?
This is like a standard. So between 10 and 15 miles is pretty standard for our larger projects. We have some small projects that come up that are minor, but our bulk of our projects are between 10 and 15 miles.
Okay, and then should residents anticipate that there could be some sort of emergency or something that could happen along the course of the construction project that would be unanticipated by you guys that affects their service, right? Like how often does something like that happen?
So this program is to proactively replace an area that's potentially leak prone. So if there's a customer has a leak, they still may get an emergency response if we haven't gotten there yet. But we would also respond if they only had our documentation. If they had something going on, we would respond with our crews as well. But that would be very minimal. So it would, our general construction is Monday through Saturday, 7 to 5, usually a little less on Saturday. So we would be out. Saturday, we stop at 3:30. But
But you
during a
start work
regular,
at 7 a.m.?
yes. 7 a.m. is our personnel start time. They don't really actually start excavating. They set up their safety protection, and usually it's a little closer to 8 o'clock before they're actually
Isn't that in
excavating.
violation of our noise ordinance? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So there would need to be an exception filed, right, for that? Michael?
Yeah, there is a waiver process which the engineering department will discuss with them at that point, and we'll go over that like we do with any other utility project.
Okay, okay, and then I guess Marlene, so, this is 7 months or a year, right? So if you have vacation or something, there are people to back you up, right?
So there is another public affairs specialist who will handle my hotline while I'm away.
Okay, and then, how often should we expect updates on how it's going? Are you on track, those sorts of updates?
Yeah, so I have towns where I do like a weekly update, so I can send a weekly update like every Friday or every Monday where we are, where we're going to next.
Okay.
And then, I mean, you can put it up on your website or.
Yep.
We have a communications chief who will be
Perfect.
all over you.
Okay.
Really? Councilmember Hairston.
Well, thank you for coming and giving us this opportunity to ask questions, because I live in the same neighborhood as Councilman Naidu, and it was just a nightmare on Kent Place Boulevard, so you'll understand our sensitivity. And I think you may have addressed it, but I want to hear it real clearly. The problem you're solving is a low gas, so.
Low pressure.
Low pressure. And so tell me, what are residents going to notice differently, or is it on your side? Tell us what problem is being fixed and what risks
Sure.
exist.
So this program that we have with the Board of Public Utilities, one part of it is to go to a low-pressure area and increase pressure to have high pressure, but it's also more to address potential leak-prone pipe. So cast iron pipe, a lot of this was installed before 1950, so it's been in the ground for some of it 100 years, and we're looking to proactively replace it. So we have it's called a hazard index, a ranking for where we've had leaks throughout our system. And these grids that are pretty much 1 square mile are ranked based on the index, and we're working down that list. So we're now at Summit. This area here has risen to the top of what we determined to be flood prone. It's not like it's unsafe now, because we're actually ahead of where we need to be. But it is an area that we've identified that has had leak-related issues in the past, and we would be coming in to mitigate that and providing high pressure. So as for the customer, the only difference that they would see is their meter that they have in their basement. Potentially, sometimes it's inside, sometimes it's in their basement. We would be moving that meter out to the front of their property. So they would have the same meter unless it was due for a change. We would replace that new meter, and we install a regulator before it. It's like a small little diaphragm, very minor and visual, and that just regulates the pressure down to house pressure right before it goes into the house. So they wouldn't notice any of that. All the other work we're doing is underground. And what we do in a customer's house, we do within a couple hours. So even if you're on the block, we might be on your block for a week or two, but at your premise, we would only really be there for a day.
Okay. And the risks that are related to this project?
Risks in what sense?
Any damage to someone's home or anything in the streets? It's in your, you were in Chatham, you were in New Providence.
Right.
What's the
Yes.
safety
So
risk?
we've, in the jobs that I've had for this year, we've been in probably over 10,000 customers' houses for the territory that I have. And it's not that many houses that we would have caused damage to. And if we do, we have a claims department, so we immediately put them in contact with our claims department to rectify whatever the issue is. So
And we're
we
talking
wouldn't-
about our downtown area, so
Yeah.
that's why it's a little more concern to us if we have to put businesses out.
Yeah, so the downtown area, if it's like the glass front, we wouldn't pull meters outside here. We would just leave it where it is in place, down in the business area.
Thank you. The
Pulling
last
them outside
thing,
would be the residential section.
this is our worst weather time coming up, and so it seems like this is being planned in our most inclement weather. Is that not an issue for you all?
We work right through the winter. We would, if it snowed significantly, like it did last year, there was probably like under 2 weeks that we were shut down. We park our vehicles, we usually find a staging yard nearby and would come, and as long as we're able to do construction, we would use our backhoes to clear snow out of the way, and things of that nature. But we've been able to work right through the winter. But if it is something that we can't work through, then we would stop and do what we need to move somewhere else or work with requests of Aaron.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Madam Mayor?
Thank you. Thank you for coming tonight. So my biggest concern is the residents are going to be losing their minds when this is going on the streets. So you've seen that in other communities, and they're going to be calling me and everyone sitting up here on this dais. I think that notice is really important. You said you give letters to the residents, door hanging on the businesses. Is that the first floor, or do you also take care of folks on the upper stories?
Yeah, so if there is, you know, a 2-family, a 3-family, we leave 3 or 2, depending on how many doorbells we see. But the mailing would be like most significant because it would be like apartment 2 and it'd go directly to their inbox. The door hangers, we would leave 2 or 3 or whatever amount of units are there on the door. So, you know, it has happened where maybe like one person takes 2 or 3 and leaves them in the doorway. That's why I do the mailing as well.
And
So
then
that
you said that
there's-
you do emails.
Yeah.
If the residents or the you know, purchaser of the gas has given you the email, what's the percentage of emails that you have for customers?
I can run those for you. I don't know how many, some towns have more than others. I can't speak for some because I haven't pulled the info.
Okay, so that will be good to know.
Yeah,
And as I said, we have a communications person. We should be in touch. Please send me your email,
yeah, for sure.
and I will put you in touch with her.
So I brought a packet of everything that like I send out.
Right.
I'll leave this with you, and then also in here is my business card, and my info is on here. I left a couple in here.
Great.
To pass along.
That's great. You know, this is something that needs to be done, clearly. Leak issues. I think I've heard that more and more generators are requiring, the gas lines are going to have to be high pressure because it's just too much requirement of the gas given what the generators are requiring. So I appreciate this, and I know you need to do this, but it is difficult. And I will tell you that probably wasn't your project, I don't know if it was or not, but we have had historically a very difficult time getting anybody at PSE&G to respond to our concerns when we've had construction projects. And that cannot happen this time. It just cannot. Because people in this community were really upset for the year-plus project on Kent Place Boulevard, which is just a joke. And I don't mean to be severe, but I feel that way, and I think you need to understand that we're going to get an enormous amount of pressure. Clearly, this has some benefit to PSE&G. You're not just doing this out of the benefit of, out of the goodness of your hearts for the city of Summit. So we have to have very open dialogue with Mr. Schrager all the time, and with the city administrator, with me, because our citizens pay a lot of taxes to live here. They work hard. They love this community. We have a relatively pristine community, and we take it very seriously. So I understand we need to do this, but we will be holding your feet to the fire.
And Mayor, we do know that you're gonna, even though we want you to take the, when you get those calls, we want you to push the residents to the 800 number. I know you're gonna get the calls anyway.
Right.
I will leave Mike a bunch of my cards.
Thank you.
I can pass them out, and so if, at the last resort, you can call me, and I can get, Sam's folks or whoever needs to be involved to address the issues.
Okay.
Okay, Councilmember Fallon.
Thank you, Council President. I just have a quick question. When you put in the new high-pressure pipes, does that ever consequently affect other areas in the neighborhoods that potentially could take the pressure away from them?
So the high pressure would actually help those areas, but we have to systematically do it to not cause the low pressure areas that we didn't get to. There's like a system feed that certain sequence, which is something we'll work out with Aaron. So we try to stick to a sequence. We can bounce around a little bit, but sometimes we're restricted to go from A to B to C on streets just to avoid the area that we haven't worked from losing pressure.
Okay. Just one last question. Is this the same process that you do when there's a new line being dropped?
So a new line, they would have to trench the actual whole thing. So
Okay.
being that there's already an existing one there that's a larger diameter, we can dig a hole and push a new smaller pipe right through it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
This project overall should be less intrusive and less disruptive to the residents, because like I said, we're not open trenching the road. We're opening spots, putting the pipe in through the existing pipe. So the amount of work that we have to do essentially is much less.
Okay.
I just had one.
Yes, go ahead,
So
Councilmember.
I'm glad you said that, because I'm really concerned about the disruption. And so if you're saying it's going to be less disruptive, I mean, that's what we're going to be coming back to, that promise right there. But I'm curious about the feedback you've gotten from other communities and how disruptive it's been, and the communication successes that you've had and communication failures that you may have had in Chatham and other communities that you mentioned.
So Chatham Borough, we actually did 3 grids sequentially. So we were there for over 2 years. So Chatham Borough would most likely speak positively. We've done majority of that borough we did in the last 2 years. There were some customers that had issued, not that many. It was significant issues were less than probably of customers that we had to, that were more than normal construction issue. I don't know if that helps answer that.
Well, and I would like to hear from the communications, if you, had areas where you've made improvements from past experience.
Yeah, so I just pulled
If you could
email.
just come up to the microphone.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
So the people at home can hear you.
So I actually just pulled up an email on another town where I'll briefly read to you, just the professionalism and what went on the street. So thank you for such a professional crew to install and connect with us this high-pressure gas line on such street in the town of. I've been watching them for a week, and I'm completely impressed with the crew and the street crew's professionalism, teamwork, coordination. Each one seems to anticipate the next one's move, and there is always one to assist when needed. It's teamwork at its best, and a couple of retired neighbors have noticed the same. And I mean, it just keeps going on about, and I see these emails often. We have a email also listed on this letter that we send out, and those emails do come through. So they are positive, and I will occasionally get phone calls as well. Yep, and then they are circulated back to the district manager. Yep.
Thank you, Council President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I had a question as well. You talked about like any street would be a week or so for the service. How long will any resident experience like a service disruption in terms of gas service?
So that day that we work in their house, it's usually between 2 and 4 hours.
So when you're working on the street, there is no service
Now,
cutoff?
like when we're out in the road, we'll do all of our prep in the road. So
Mm.
we do a couple hundred feet worth with a crew a day. So if a block is 1,000 feet, we'll probably be doing main work out in the street for a week. And then we would come sequentially through and do the work in the customers' houses where we would do 4 to 5 of them a day.
And that's where the service shut-offs
Yeah,
would
where we
be?
would shut them off, reconnect them to the new main, and turn them back on.
Okay, I understand. Are there any questions from members of the public? Okay, seeing none, anyone else have anything? Thank you so much for taking the time to present.
You want me to leave this with you?
Sure.
Yeah, that'd be
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Please.
In the packet, I guess.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
So like everything on there, so what's bold, and where we
Okay.
When you say bold,
like the dark, everything.
Okay, all right, thank you.
so
Okay.
not the road.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
So like
All
the
the colors.
street, we wouldn't work on.
Got
like,
it. Understood.
And, where it
Okay.
has purple
Oh, I see.
upgrade, that is where.
So,
it's already classified, so we don't have to change.
You just have to,
Purple and yellow, very minimal.
these are the new mains.
Yeah, these are where we would have to replace all the services.
Okay.
Purple and yellow, it's minimal.
Can you grab one of her cards? Don't give
Thank
one
you
of
very
hers,
much.
it's all-
I'm sorry, I don't know where the
Inside,
cards.
inside that black folder,
Okay, don't give them all.
right in the pocket. There's one.
Yep.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Great. Okay.
Give that to me.
Yeah, all right. All right, so now we'll move on to the public comments. At this point in the meeting, the council welcomes comments from any member of the public about issues that are not a topic on tonight's business agenda. Please come forward, state your name and address, and in order to just keep the meeting moving along, I'm going to ask everyone to limit their time to 3 minutes. Are there any comments from the public? Guess we're losing the public. Okay, so I'm going to close the public comment. And we'll move on to an ordinance for introduction. Madam Clerk, could you please read the ordinance?
Yes. An ordinance to amend an ordinance entitled, "An Ordinance to Create a Manual to Establish, Regulate, and Control the Police Department of the City of Summit, regulating and defining the manner of appointment thereto and removal therefrom, and outlining the duties of officers, personnel, and divisions of the Police Department," passed on March 15, 2005, and amended on March 21, 2006, as amended by Resolution 36034.
Okay, thank you. And Councilmember Hairston, would you like to introduce this, please?
Thank you, Council President. I am introducing ordinance ID 9152, and this ordinance is replacing the police department's rules and regulations manual that was adopted in October 2013, and it consists of a hybrid of an employee manual and department policy and procedures. And so basically this is updating the ordinance from a 2013 rules and regulations to a 2020 rules and regulations. Now, the adoption of rules and regulations is not the responsibility of the chief of police, but instead it is the responsibility of the appropriate authority within the municipality. So whereas issuing policies, procedures, orders, and directives that govern the day-to-day operations of the police department is, however, the responsibility of the chief. As such, the two should not be commingled. So our resolution ID number 9152 is to repeal and replace the current 2013 version of the manual, and it will correct the historical viewpoint of combining an employee manual and the departmental policies into one document that is on the website, city's website, and council has had an opportunity to read that. So I thereby request approval of this ordinance 9152.
Second.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could we please have a roll call?
Ms. Allen?
Yes.
Ms. Hairston?
Yes?
Ms. Little? Mr. Naidu?
Yes.
Mr. O'Sullivan?
Aye.
Mr. Vartan?
Aye.
President Fox?
Yes. Motion carries. The hearing on this ordinance will be on Monday, November 15th. Okay, now moving on to resolutions. We have two safety and health resolutions. Councilmember Hairston, would you like to take the first one, please?
Thank you, Council President. Introducing the ID 9254 to authorize the emergency lease purchase of three 2021 Ford Police Interceptor utility vehicles in the amount of $100,055. This resolution is to have the acquisition of vehicles from the Koch 33 Ford in Easton, PA, which will be financed through Ford Motor Credit on a 3-year lease purchase agreement at an annual rate of $35,264.73. The justification for purchasing this vehicle from Koch Ford, as opposed to our current state contractor, is based on the following factors. It's in keeping with the established vehicle replacement program for frontline vehicles. There are currently 4 vehicles that are due for replacement as a result of their age and mileage. Each of these vehicles are approximately 5 years old, with mileage in excess of 80,000 miles. And following the police vehicle involved in an accident on September 5th, 2021, in which a police vehicle was rear-ended by another motorist, an additional vehicle from the frontline fleet needs replacement. And the current state contract vendor could not provide an estimated lead time for acquiring replacement vehicle due to the national chip shortage, nor did they have any vehicles in stock for immediate delivery. And finally, Koch 33 Ford currently has 3 vehicles in stock in their inventory, which are available for immediate delivery. So for this reason, we are requesting the city approve this request for a resolution to acquire 3 Ford Police Interceptor utilities and enter into a lease purchase agreement with the Ford Motor Credit.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Okay. Any comments from members of the public? Okay. Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Councilmember Hairston, Safety and Health number 2, please.
Thank you. Resolution ID 9188 to declare vacancies in the police department for chief, captain, lieutenant, sergeant, and police officer. This was pending our discussion in closed session due to the retirement of our esteemed Chief Bartolotti and the subsequent vacancies that will come before us as a result of his retirement, and requesting to declare a vacancy for the office of chief, of captain, lieutenant, sergeant, and police officer. And I know that our mayor has already appointed an acting chief, but we still are declaring that vacancy tonight. So I ask for the approval of resolution number 9188.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, we'll now move on to finance. Councilmember Vartan, would you like to start with finance number 1, please?
I will do that. Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 9169 This resolution awards a bid for emergency generators preventative maintenance and repair services. This contract is being awarded to Paul's Electronic Maintenance out of South Plainfield. The term of the contract is for 2 calendar years from 2022 to 2023, with an option for one more 2-year extension. This resolution is coming out of the Finance Committee because in the past, various departments have had generator maintenance and repair contracts, and this brings us under one citywide contract. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Okay, comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Finance number 2, Councilmember Vartan.
Thank you, Council President. So this is ID number 9167. This resolution is similar to the last one and awards a bid for on-call plumbing services. This contract is being awarded to Argent Contracting Company out of Chatham. The term of the contract is for 2 calendar years, 2022 to 2023, with an option for one 2-year extension. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And we're now on to finance number 3.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 9247. This resolution amends membership to the Summit Economic Development Advisory Committee and appoints members. So as per our closed session discussion, we're creating another resident position going from 7 to 8 community members at large, then appointing Dwight Dixon and Andrew Friedland to the committee. We're thrilled to have hundreds of people on city boards and commissions willing to volunteer their time and talent. I would also like to use this opportunity to make a plug to submit a volunteer application. I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to capital projects and community services. Councilmember Little, would you like to take number 1, please?
Thank you, Council President. Capital projects, resolution number 1 is number 9215, and it's to authorize the 2022 Earth Day activities. These will take place on April 2nd this year from 9 a.m. to noon. The rain date would be the next day on Sunday, April 3rd. And also, the Environmental Commission is asking for the option of adding Sunday afternoon for additional cleanup activities to accommodate those who can't participate on Saturday because of religious commitments. The sites being considered are the ones that are normally part of the Earth Day: Memorial Field, Village Green, Parkline, Wilson Park, Martins Brooks Park, Overlook Hospital, some open space areas around the transfer station, the Oak Ridge Avenue area by Primrose Place, Glenside Avenue, and the public works facilities on Chatham Road, Tatlock Field, and some areas around Washington School. This is also, this has been a wonderful event in the city for a very long time. Thanks in part to Council President Marjorie Fox, who got this started many years ago, and this is a wonderful way for residents to do their part in cleaning up the city and making Summit a more beautiful place to live. So I enthusiastically ask that we approve this resolution.
And I enthusiastically second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Comments from members of the public? Well, I'm happy to see that Earth Day is back again this year after a short hiatus for COVID. So this will be the 16th year, and I am very excited to see that it's back. And with that, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Capital projects number 2.
Capital projects number 2 is resolution number 9255, and it's to authorize additional dates for the temporary dog park at the transfer station. As you know, if you've been following along our council agendas, we have a pilot project for a dog park at the transfer station. It has been extremely popular, and there have been no issues, so we would like to extend it. We are going to extend through for additional dates from November 4th through December 31st. This will be subject to weather permitting, of course, but we would like to extend the of the temporary dog park, it's also subject to approval by the county, since this is county land, but we are hoping that the county will approve this and allow us for these additional dates through the end of the year for the very popular pilot program of the dog park. And I also enthusiastically ask for approval on this one.
And I enthusiastically second this one also.
Are there any comments from members of council? Councilmember Hairston.
Thank you, Council President Fox. I just got another call this week about the dog park with lots of suggestions, and would just ask you to remind us where folks can submit those. I know this is a pilot, and how can folks pass on their ideas and their interest in being involved in being helpful to the park.
Okay, thank you, Councilmember Harrison. They can really write to any member of council or to the clerk, and she'll distribute it. So, all our addresses are on the website, and we're all happy to take input from members of the community. Okay, so any other comments? All right, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So our last capital projects and community services resolution, Councilmember Little.
Thank you, Council President. Cap Projects Resolution number 3 is number 9186. This is to authorize a 2-year contract extension for snow and ice removal services from sidewalks and open spaces that would extend through December 31st, 2023, not to exceed $20,000 per contract year. The city does use outside consultants to assist with snow removal operations for city-owned spaces and walkways. In 2020, council awarded a contract to Adam Sheppy Landscaping with an option for a 2-year extension. As the contract and the work are both proceeding satisfactorily, both the city and the vendor would like to exercise the extension this time, so I ask that we approve this resolution.
Seconded.
Any comments from members of council? Okay. Comments from members of the public? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Capital projects number 4, we're not going to vote on tonight. We've pushed that because we don't have all the information we need to proceed. So we'll move on to our last resolution of the regular agenda, which is community programs and parking services. Councilmember O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Council President. This is ID number 9184, to grant free holiday shopper parking for 2021 in the Central Retail Business District. Each holiday season, the City of Summit and Summit Downtown, Inc. want to encourage more visitors, more shopping, and more dining in our downtown to give as much support to our downtown business community as we can. This year, free holiday parking will run from Saturday, December 11th through Sunday, December 26th, which is 11 metered parking days. It will include the Bank Street lot, the ground floor of the Tier Garage, and all 90-minute parking spaces in the CRBD. It will not include the 3 DeForest lots. Time limits at all of these locations will be strictly enforced to encourage turnover of parking spaces. Summit Downtown, Inc. has agreed to contribute $3,000 to the City of Summit to offset the loss of parking revenue and to reimburse the city for pre-printed covers of the parking kiosks. In addition, SDI will market free holiday parking across all of their usual platforms. And with that, I ask that we approve this resolution.
Second.
Are there any comments from members of council? Councilmember O'Sullivan, I just want to confirm, we also have offer free parking for Thanksgiving weekend. Is that correct?
That's correct. That is a permanent.
That's not part of this resolution,
That's
but
not
it
part.
does.
That's
but just for the public to
Yes,
know.
that's been made permanent a number of years ago, and that will be free holiday parking all over the city. It includes the forest lots for those 2 days, Friday and Saturday.
Friday and Saturday of
Yeah.
Thanksgiving weekend.
Yes.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. And Sundays are always free.
And Sundays are always free.
Okay, so with that, any other comments from members of council? Any comments from members of the public? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we're now moving on to the consent agenda. Madam Clerk, do we have something else from the floor? I'm trying to remember if there was anything else. We sort of have this nagging thing in my head.
No, there was discussion about the recycling advisory representative, but that's not, doesn't require a resolution.
Right, okay, of course. Okay, so we're moving on to the consent agenda at this point. Unless anyone has something specific they'd like to discuss, we will take the whole consent agenda as a whole and vote on it as one item. So does anyone, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Okay, do I have a second? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we're on to council members' comments and new business.
Council President.
Yes, go ahead,
Thank
Councilmember
you.
Vartan.
Thank you, Council President. I want to take this opportunity to thank our city clerk, Rosemary Licatis, our county clerk, Joanne Rajapi, and all the highly dedicated people who worked the polls. I personally appreciated the opportunity to vote early and think it is well worth the state's added investment. I would also like to thank everyone in Summit who cast a vote. So thank you and have a wonderful night.
Thank you, Councilmember Vartan. Does anyone else have anything they'd like to say?
Council President?
Yes, Councilmember Naidoo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I join in thanking the folks who worked at the polling locations and the city staff and the county staff. It's a really hard and difficult process and making sure everything goes smoothly, which for the most part it did. The election is over, as you said, and governing continues. It has continued during the election season and now especially after the election season. And my only comment is really, we're in this period of kind of post-pandemic planning. We're not completely there. We're still in the pandemic, kind of this intermezzo period, if you will, between the two worlds. But I think this election, just like any other election, raises issues and concerns that the public has. And as we try to think through these issues, we should be respectful of the fact that there's lots of differences of opinion towards how we should operate, just because everybody has gone through the shock of the pandemic and how they have interpreted all the changes that have gone on around them. And what I would say for us as a community, we need to kind of come together, as you said, think through solutions and try to come with compromises that we can all live with, understanding none of us are going to always get exactly what we want, but that we must settle on the fact that in order to have a healthy and vibrant community, we must all give a little. And so I'm hoping that now that we're back to governing, we can use that as an approach that we always have had. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Councilmember Naidoo. Are there any other comments from members of council? Okay. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Good night, everyone. Thank you very much. So our next meeting is Monday, November 15th. So just, November is one of those funky months where we like to keep everyone on their toes. So first we meet on a Wednesday, then we meet on a Monday. So see you in 2 weeks.